All right, we're breaking down the best, worst, and pretty much every major movie that we've seen in 2023 here. Graham G. Matthews, joined once again by Jonn Ritland at Reborn Again on the Twitter machine. Real Honesty with Jonn Ritland on the YouTube channels. Check him out. Does great content. John, this is our second time doing this. Great to have you back, my friend.
It is great to be back. Yes, shockingly, I defy science, folks, and I'm still here. If you have been a long-time viewer, subscriber, whatever it is, of this particular podcast channel, you may remember last year we did a breakdown of all the movies, and I watched 200 movies and swore I would not reach that number this year. I did 276.
Crazy. I'm still astounded when you told me that number. I couldn't believe it. I could believe it because I know you watch a lot of movies and you do a lot of content. You do great stuff. And you review all this stuff, too. And there's going to be titles that you mention while we're talking today that, like you said, you probably don't remember much, if any, about because you've seen so many. But they're worth a mention anyway. So I'm excited to get into it.
Well, yeah, and see, you post stuff on Letterboxd, and you'll post your thoughts on your various shows that you do on YouTube. But, yeah, I mean, I do a lot of movie reviews, and that's not even including the retro content, folks. I probably did about 50 retro movie reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, if we dive right into it with 276 2023 movies, and we can even talk later about movies coming out in the coming year.
Mm-hmm.
It's only a few days away as of this. But you have your list, I have my list. I had to keep an entire log, folks. I mean, I have some memory issues, so 276 movies is hard to keep track of. Let's start. Megan. Did you see Megan?
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I was going to ask you what the first movie you saw this year was. And my answer...
Was it.
This was it?
That was Megan. Yep.
Oh, mine was Megan too. Well, so with me it was. I did not write down, because I know we discussed it last year. We talked about Babylon. I'm not going to include that because that came out last year. I saw that this year. I thought that was trash. I did not like that movie personally.
Was it like 3 hours or
yeah,
something like that
long.
Or whatever?
It was. I mean, in the theater I saw it on, it was. I mean, there weren't many people there, but it was one of those movies where, and this does not happen often, so I don't want to make anyone think that this happens consistently with me. I was on my phone by half of it. I'm like, dude, this just needs to end. I'm checking my watch. I'm like, when the fuck is this thing going to end? This is ridiculous. But that was last year. That was technically the first movie.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that, but I meant to see it, but I just didn't get around to it.
I'll tell you, don't. Don't waste your time.
Okay, all right, there you go.
And unless you want to, give a scathing review. I mean, maybe you'll like it more than I did. I just thought it was trash. But I did see Megan, and I'm curious. I remember watching a review, and I remember seeing you post about it. If I remember correctly, you did not like this movie, Rick, because I'm not going to say I loved it, but I thought it was better than I thought it would be, because I had very low expectations.
I'm going to give a brief overview. Blumhouse kind of is the bane of my existence, because, or Blumhouse, I think is how you say it. They've done movies for years. They did that Truth or Dare movie that had Lucy Hale in it. They did the Bermuda Triangle. No. That Bermuda Island movie.
I don't remember that.
Bermuda Island. No, The Island or whatever the hell it was. That one with Lucy Hale. It was in it. In fact, I'll just get. Fortunately, folks, I have a house phone, so I can look up stuff on my internet if that actually happens. Fantasy Island. That was it.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was trash. So Megan, here's the thing. Megan had a good concept. I did like that Megan existed for this reason, because it frustrated the pearl clutchers that hate LGBTQ representation somehow in a movie about an animatronic doll. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't funny enough to offset the lack of scares. It wasn't scary enough to offset the lack of laughs.
Yes, it was not scary.
There were moments that I don't think it leaned into its concept enough.
Yeah, they could have done more with it, I think. I thought it was going to be one of those movies that would be so bad it was... I mean, again, like I said, I thought it was actually better than I thought it would be. Is it worthwhile? Sure. Probably not. I mean, probably in comparison to some of the other movies that you saw and you liked way more than this one.
Right.
But it wasn't... I was expecting, like, a so bad I need to go see this sort of thing, and that's not what this was.
Right.
But I thought it was fine enough.
Made a lot of money, though. They're doing a sequel. I think the sequel comes out 2025.
2025. Okay, I didn't know how quickly it was coming out. Yeah, I did see they were making a sequel though. What was the movie that you saw after that? Because that was the only one, aside from Babylon, that came out last year. That was the only one I saw in January. The next one I saw was not until February. So what did you see during that time period that really stood out to you?
Brief rundown, guys. I basically saw about 20 movies in January. So let me go through them. The Pale Blue Eye, that had Christian Bale in it. That was a Netflix original, and it was supposed to be an investigative suspense mystery thing that I called from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it having a good concept, and that's about it. The Devil Conspiracy. Take an amalgamation of like the worst ideas from superhero and horror movies from the early 2000s and throw them in a blender like your Eve 6, and you have this. It was so mind-numbingly stupid.
Yep.
I was amazed that this got released. I was in the theater. I was in the back row. I always try to sit in the back row, and I was away from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually saw another movie, a double feature, because I was going to be stuck in traffic. There was a bad accident, and I was stuck in Everett, which is the next city south. Washingtonians will know what I mean. But I watched The Devil Conspiracy, and the Archangel Michael was involved. We went to heaven and hell. There was something about a lady that was going to have experiments done on her, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it had something to tie into religious, not like in a heavy-handed bullshit way like a movie I'll mention later, but just a way where like we're going to involve religion and horror and stuff and whatever, and it made no sense. The special effects looked dated even for if it came out in 2003.
Wow.
I was amazed. Yeah, The Devil Conspiracy. The conspiracy was where did they put the rest of the money that they invested in that schlock? Mm-hmm. But then the next one I saw was Plane with Gerard Butler.
Yes, I remember when that came out. I did not see it. How was that?
Terrible.
You're telling me a movie just called Plane was bad? I'm shocked.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, they were totally winging it throughout the entire thing. No, the Plane. Look, I don't expect much from Gerard Butler movies, even though he is a pretty good actor. He has proven that he is good. But the action scenes were okay. The problem is you didn't have a reason to care about any of the villains. You didn't have a reason to care or see the villains get killed, rather. You didn't have any reason to care about any of the heroes. None of it was any good. The action scenes were terrible. Mm-hmm. And the only reason I ended up watching it is because otherwise I would have been stuck in traffic for about 2 hours and said, to heck with it, I'll just watch this. Mm-hmm. I switched my ticket because I was going to go back to Marysville where I live. But, no, Plane was something I actually had to recall. I go, what did I not like about it? Oh, yeah, pretty much it wasn't even the worst thing that I saw this year, just so you know.
Yeah.
Stick. That was the one from Kevin Williamson who wrote the Scream movies, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, or at least the first batch of Scream movies. Mm-hmm. And it was a pandemic thriller. Okay. A slasher where basically, I'm not going to spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but let's just say the conclusion that they arrived to was a lot dumber than anything I came up with. And it was an 80-minute slasher that actually had a fairly decent opening and then just got really bad. It was like it was released on Peacock instead of theaters for a reason. And then there was one called Cryptid. It was like a monster movie set in Massachusetts or somewhere around there. It was all right. It was halfway decent. It was a little bit too long in the tooth, ironic for something that bit into people. But,
yeah.
It probably didn't need to be an hour and 50-something minutes. But as far as, like, about, I'd say 80% of it was decent.
Okay.
So it's not a bad movie. I think it's on Tubi currently. I'm not sure. I might shout some streaming services. Tubi's an ad-based streaming service. You can just, if you can put up with ads, it's free to sign up, and it's free to use. But, yeah, Cryptid, it was all right. It actually had some decent underground scenes and actually had, not really suspense, but at least had some good crafting. Mm-hmm. There was Landlocked that had to do with a guy looking at some home movies and reflecting on his ancestral home, which I always pronounce as ancestral for some reason, so I don't know.
Totally different thing, yeah.
Yeah, totally different thing. We're not in Alabama, but totally sorry to anybody in Alabama that was listening to this. But it was. It dealt with ghosts, like ghosts of the past or something like that. I'm not totally sure exactly what the deal was with the movie because it was very open-ended, like a sewer. And that's actually kind of wrong because there were moments that weren't too bad. It was interesting, but it felt much like a short film concept extended into something feature-length. I think it was still only 75 minutes. There was The Offering. That was one of the few Hebrew-related or themed horror movies that I watched, and it was dealing with more ghosts of the past and stuff like that. And it was actually pretty good. It was nice and atmospheric. It was low budget. Clearly, it was low budget, but at least it was well acted. I can't remember much else about it because, again, folks, 276 movies. There's something wrong with the children. There was something wrong with that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Kids discover something in a cave and start acting weird, and that's really about all I remember because I'm not a fan of children. I'm not. They need to be raised in a proper environment, but I utterly loathe children. That's mainly due to working at the movie theater for years and working retail, but I knew it wasn't going to be good, but even after the acting was terrible, the special effects weren't very good, there were no scares, the parents acted like idiots because they're like, there's something clearly wrong with our children, almost like there should be a title about that, but let's not do anything or let's not tell anybody about it, let's just do the worst thing possible, and that's one of a couple movies involving children that I'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, There's Something Wrong with the Children wasn't good. Snow Falls. People are isolated in a snowstorm and they think the snow is cursed, or they're just dealing with cabin fever and, and other stuff. No, really, they think the snow's haunted.
Oh, that's so dumb.
The snow actually wasn't haunted. I kind of wish it was because that actually would have made the movie better. But no, Snow Falls was a bunch of people in a cabin, and the snow didn't even look like it. You ever seen Hallmark movies where the snow doesn't look real?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this looked worse than that. Yeah, that's all I remember about Snowfall. Sorry About the Demon was a guy that I think his girlfriend ended up possessed by somebody, or by a demon, I think. It was a Shudder original. Shudder's, if you're a horror fan and you don't have Shudder, go get Shudder. I think it's like $7 a month. But Sorry About the Demon was okay. It was an attempt to do horror comedy, and it sort of hit, sort of didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Kids versus Aliens. Dark Side of the Ring?
Yeah.
Evan Husney.
Yeah, I know the name,
people, yeah, he directed this. Have you ever seen any of the VHS movies, VHS anthology?
I know of the movies. I haven't seen them.
Yeah. Well, one at the end of the second one was Alien Slumber Party something.
Mm-hmm.
Or The Last Slumber Party. No, The Last Slumber Party was a horror movie. Anyway, there were aliens that invaded and took people up during a slumber party. This is basically an extended version of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hated that tape, and I hated this. It was a 75 to 80-minute movie that just wasn't very good, and I'm starting to think that the director might have actually seen my review of it and not appreciated that I knocked it. Even though I emphasize, and even all these movies that I hate, if you can rent them on Amazon, do your job to support the independent filmmakers and the people that are trying to make everything work. If you can catch some of these on a streaming service you're already paying for, even better. But don't pirate these movies. I just want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So that was it for Kids vs. Aliens. It was Kids vs. Aliens. That was pretty much it. Birdemic 3, Sea Eagle. You've probably heard of Birdemic. Have you heard of Birdemic?
I think, was that the Netflix movie?
No, that was Bird Box.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm thinking of.
We'll get to Bird Box.
Was Bird Box
Birdemic was an infamous one where a guy wanted to pay homage to the birds that Alfred Hitchcock did.
Okay.
But he did in such a way where it was very environmental like, and it was made. The first one was made for like $10,000. The second one was made for like 60.
Mm-hmm.
And this was back like in 2000 something, by the way, folks. This wasn't that long ago. Birdemic 3, Sea Eagle, was one of the was a terrible movie. It was, I think, an attempt to kind of recreate the magic of the first one. Here's the problem: the magic of the first one couldn't be captured because it was so ironically stupid. The second one wasn't very good. The third one, I actually got, and I should have responded to these quicker. I actually got comments from the two main stars in it.
Mm-hmm.
And they appreciate. I said, I know they were trying, but Jesus goddamn Christ! I mean, what the hell were they thinking?
Mm-hmm.
And they found the review to be funny, and I'm like, okay, good. They at least understood that I wasn't saying they were terrible people, because it was like an attempt to have. It's like a meme that's no longer funny, that the director thinks is still funny.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
He thinks he's doing.
Yeah,
he thinks he's doing good. Birdemic 3 Sea Eagle was not good. I don't even think were there sea eagles in that? I'm actually trying to remember.
I haven't seen it.
I paid money for that, but bring out the fear. It was a couple wandering in the woods, and I think the couple had some relationship issues, and it was about isolation and things going tits up, and a lot of Ghosts of the Past movies on this thing. But it dealt with trauma and shit. It was actually pretty good from what I remember. It wasn't the greatest, but I gave it a fairly high grade for what they were trying to do. Alone at Night. I'm not even through the January movies. Jesus. Alone at Night. Oh God. Let me see about this one, because I know a girl was doing webcam stuff. They didn't show much that was explicit, but they ended up, let's see, Alone at Night. Oh yeah, it was in quarantine, and a girl ended up getting attacked by somebody that was a viewer of hers. I do remember that there were a couple pretty girls in it, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Not exactly something that was totally memorable based on the way I'm describing it. Fear. You might have remembered me talking about this because it got a theatrical release.
Yeah, the name sounds familiar.
Did you ever see the House on Haunted Hill remake that Jeffrey Rush was in?
No, I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Okay, picture a late 90s, early 2000s horror movie with that, with just that glossy, washed out look and really, really bad special effects of people in one location, and you pretty much have fear. A guy wants to study what scares particular people, so he gathers friends during quarantine, which is another theme that you're going to see with some of these movies. No, Alone at Night. Fear was, the only fear I had was I actually did a double feature of that and the following movie, but Fear was not good. Fear was not scary at all. Infinity Pool. Mia Goth has been on fire recently doing X, Pearl, which I know you watched.
Yes, you gave me the code for that one, yeah.
Oh, that's right. But Mia Goth is really good, and this was from Brandon Cronenberg, not Steven Cronenberg, who famously made Scanners and stuff like that or whatever. Or maybe I have that backwards. Infinity Pool has his son, the Cronenberg son.
Okay.
And he decided to basically make a... it's Brandon Cronenberg. Okay, I did have that right. See, it's a good thing I have access to the internet until they do updates and it shuts it off. There's a beach vacation area, and it kind of deals with how the rich can get away with anything. That's the best way I can describe it. It is not for everybody at all. In fact, I could see you and Alexis watching it and having a divided opinion. I'm still not certain that I fully understood everything. But Mia Goth was good in it. It introduced me to an actress named Cleopatra Coleman. And it had, did you see The Northman?
The Northman? I don't think so.
That was the sword based one that well, the one that was from the director of The Witch and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I haven't
Oh
seen
no,
it.
that was okay. Well, that wasn't okay. Actually, I take that back. This was Alexander Skarsgård. He was in that ill-fated Tarzan movie that came out in 2016. But no, The Northman was actually pretty good. But back to Infinity Pool, yeah, it was bizarre. It was also from Neon Studios. You're going to hear me praise A24 and Neon Studios a lot
Mm-hmm.
because those are my two favorite studios. Let's go to more, and I know we'll get to one eventually that you watched. Because you said you only watched Megan in January, right?
Yeah, I watched. That was the only one I watched in January. Yeah.
Okay. Shotgun Wedding. It had Jennifer Lopez. It had Jennifer Coolidge, who was Stifler's mom in the American Pie movies and also other stuff. And yeah, it was an attempted action comedy where a wedding gets interrupted by mobster people, something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like if The Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum was made by an idiot. Because that had the perfect blend of action and comedy and great stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this didn't. This had slow-mo. This not seen since Zack Snyder was allowed to make another movie. More on him later, folks. And, yeah, Shotgun Wedding wasn't good. Maybe I do. I know Emma Roberts was in it. I know Richard Gere was in it. I believe Diane Keaton was in it. Susan Sarandon was in it. It's hard to believe that Susan Sarandon is in her 70s. No, William H. Macy was in it. Oh, God, Diane Keaton. I saw a lot of movies with Diane Keaton this year. But, yeah, it was, let's see. Emma Roberts and Luke Bracey are about to get married. I think it's Luke Bracey, is it? Yeah. God, I actually remembered that without looking. It was a romantic comedy that was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been put out on streaming and nobody would have missed anything. It was all right, though. Blood, that was about a lady that had her, no, not time of the month, folks, but had her, I think her son ended up turning into a vicious creature, like a vampire type thing.
Mm-hmm.
That much I remember. I actually kind of looked forward to it, and it wasn't good. Those Who Call, I got some flack from the director of this
For trashing it?
Yeah, I wasn't very kind to it. I mean, I probably should have taken it easy. But it's also hard for me to do that when a movie isn't very good. Now, there were good ideas, but it was two sisters around in the woods, lost, and they were lost and, like, isolated and stuff like that after a trip, after their car broke down and everything, and then there were reflections, and the director and writer's name is Anubis Lopez, and I even said to him, because I talked to him on social media, and he took it in stride, and I admitted I was a bit too harsh. But yeah, two sisters are lost in the woods, and weird shit happens. That much I can remember about it. But he also did another movie that I actually reviewed a little bit later this year, or a little bit later in the year. It was not very good, but to be fair, when you're trying to make your own movie and you have a small budget, you do the best you can. Skinamarink was one that was very low budget, $15,000. Roughly, and kids were isolated in a house, and all the doors and windows were gone, and it was like, you know, kids being trapped and not knowing where their parents were.
Mm-hmm.
And it was found footage. It was very weird. It was good. I don't think it was the best way I can describe it. It wasn't as great as people. It wasn't as great as some people said it was. It was not nearly as bad as the detractors said. So now we get to maybe one, but it was good. Now we get the one that you watched, Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, I had that a little bit later down because I forgot I didn't end up watching it until like May or something. But what were your thoughts on that one?
Knock at the Cabin, I like Batista in it. Batista continues to prove that he's probably the best of the wrestlers of the, you know, the
turned
ruthless
actors, yeah.
aggression / PG era that has turned into a great actor. And nothing against Rock the Dwayne Johnson, but he pretty much plays the same role. Cena, he pretty much plays the same role. Batista has proven that he can be a very good dramatic actor. It's also directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who has not directed a good movie since I was in my 20s. in my personal opinion, at least. It had an interesting concept, but it fell on the same tropes as his stuff. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought it was all right. I was expecting more because it was an intriguing concept, but I was ultimately disappointed by what it was. I thought it was okay, and the ending kind of felt flat. I mean, it was a happy ending, quote unquote, but you know, I don't know. I liked Batista being in it, and Batista was the best part about it for me, just being a Batista fan. The movie itself, I thought it wasn't meant to be scary. I know it's based off a book, and people were upset they changed the ending from the book or whatever. I'm not a big M. Night Shyamalan fan myself, but you know, I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was terrible, but I definitely thought it would have been better than it was. I was more excited going into it than I was coming out of it. Let's put it that way.
I mean, I won't disagree there. That's actually, I gave it a pretty scathing review, as I recall. Reviewed a lot of stuff, folks, so you'll forgive me if I misremember something. But yeah, I did want to like it more than I thought. Rupert Grint, it was weird that Ron Weasley made his return to acting for this.
I didn't know that was him.
I know he's been in other stuff, but just, I don't know. I didn't care for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything you watched in February before I dive into anything I did?
No, not really. I mean, I did want to discuss, I'll skip ahead to March because I'll get your major ones from February in a second because I do want to talk about this before I forget while it's on the mind. I want to get your thoughts on Scream 6, 7? I think 6. 5 came out the year before. We talked about 5 last year because I did not like that movie. I know you liked it more than I did. I liked this one a lot more than the previous one, and I thought it was actually really well done.
I will say that upon reflection, because I actually rewatched all the Screams, including Scream 5 or 5 Cream or whatever the hell they're going to call it. I rewatched it, and I admit, I mean, I'm not coming around to like as far as how you and Alexis felt, because I remember how you both discussed it, and you both discussed on the Ask GSM she was part of, how you felt about 6 compared to 5 and vice versa.
Yep.
I admit that 5 wasn't great. I enjoyed some of it. I thought it was at least more of a homage to the first 3. And Scream 6, look, I wasn't happy when they weren't going to pay Neve Campbell the proper money that she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially for what she meant to the franchise. Whatever Neve means as an actress now is up in the air to people. She is basically the Jamie Lee Curtis to this, like Jamie Lee Curtis was to the Halloween franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Even though they totally butchered that with Halloween Resurrection and then Halloween Ends. I will never forgive David Gordon Green for that. And another movie I'll mention. But Scream 6. Yeah, I didn't like Scream 6 at all.
You didn't like Scream 6 at all, really?
No.
Wow. I mean, at least, I will say they're. I mean, does it seem like? Do you think in your prediction as we look ahead, and we'll kind of interweave, 2024 stuff in here too. Do you think they'll end up making 7 after the whole controversy that went down a couple weeks ago? I mean, I don't think at this point it sounds like it's just a done project, and it probably should be.
Do I think that they will?
Yes.
I don't know if Spyglass will, but I think Spyglass might try to sell off the rights. And if Spyglass sells off the rights, whatever studio may try to make nice with Melissa Barrera.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they can give Melissa Barrera a personality for this one. She's good. She is Sam. She just doesn't have the range, I think, or like what they're trying to make her do and seem, Skeet Ulrich, her dad's ghost.
Yeah, no, I said that when we spoke about the last one. I thought, I just didn't think she was very good in the last one. Not saying she was great in this one. I just like the overall movie more. But yeah, her lack of personality is not great. Yeah, she's okay. Yeah.
Jenna Ortega's great. She left because I think she's filming Wednesday and stuff like that. It's just it was snake bit before the writers and actors strike hit, and then they had Samara Weaving. And sorry, folks, for those who haven't seen it, Samara Weaving dies in the beginning of it. Yeah. She was in Ready or Not, and the way I mentioned, or the way I describe Samara Weaving is she's talented Margot Robbie. And I feel bad for saying, but I don't see the appeal of Margot Robbie. Scream 6, just to me, it insisted on itself. And after what happened in 5, you had the 2 that got stabbed really badly in the house.
Yep.
Somehow they survived.
Yeah.
And then they survive even more bad shit that happens in this and somehow live. And then you had the girlfriend on the ladder between the two apartments that didn't, last. And she didn't get cut nearly as bad as Mindy did.
Yeah, it was definitely ridiculous.
But I called the twist from early on, and for me, I thought the setting was fine, but people say, oh, it was set in New York. It was set in fucking Toronto. I could tell. I've never even been to Toronto, and I could tell.
Mm-hmm.
But, no, I didn't really like Scream 6. And about Scream 7, I think that it could get made if it's sold to another studio, but I don't think it's going to get made unless that happens, because Nev won't want to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to rely on Mindy and whoever the guy is, Chad or whatever the hell his goddamn name is? I don't remember. The guy, if David Arquette, he died in Scream 5. Courtney Cox.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else do they have? And this is serious. I mean, I'm not even. This isn't even me knocking 6. What else do they have to do?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wrap it up with Matthew Lillard's Stu coming back after getting a TV slammed on his head in the first one.
I mean, at this point, with the amount of people that are coming back, I mean, anything can happen.
I wouldn't be too surprised. I mean, hell, Skeet Ulrich, who died in the first one, he's appearing, so why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, Scream 6 I didn't really like at all.
Another one from around that season. I mean, this kind of had the Megan effect for me, where I knew going in it wasn't going to be great, but I had to see it anyway, and I'm sure you saw it. Maybe you didn't. Cocaine Bear. Did you see that one? Well, what were your thoughts on that? Considering, was it like as bad as you thought it would be, or did you actually enjoy it?
I really liked it.
Really? I liked it more than I thought I would. It was definitely fucking dumb and not a great movie at all, but I did enjoy it. It was dumb fun for me.
Atrocious as far as the concept, but
sure,
it was
of course.
Great. That part with the ambulance where they're playing, I think it was, I don't remember the name of the band, but I Just Can't Get Enough, and diving into the ambulance. That was funny shit. That was good. That was one that I really enjoyed, and I saw that opening day.
Wow.
Did I do a double feature? I got to look ahead on that. No, I did not do a double feature of that. Well, that's way further down my list than I thought. I didn't realize that I saw that many in February.
Mm-hmm.
No, I enjoyed Cocaine Bear. I was excited about it. Yes, admittedly, it is not a great movie. It's called Cocaine Bear. I mean, what are we... It was directed by Elizabeth Banks.
Yep.
Who was, by the way, in case you know the name, folks, and you're not that... But you can't picture, May the Odds Be Ever in Your Favor. The one with the white-faced woman in Hunger Games.
Yeah.
It's another movie that I'll discuss a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so was there anything extra before we just go back to February? Or
I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, those were the big ones. I mean, that was March, but I mean, for February for you, give me some major ones that stand out. Because if we go through all of them, we might be here a while. But if you give me like the ones,
I'll just go through them really quickly.
Yeah.
Viking Wolf. It was set in Europe. It had something to do with werewolves. Bermuda Island. Tom Sizemore.
Mm-hmm.
It was a piece of shit, and I know that personally from a close confidant. He was very abusive. Bermuda Island had to do with creatures on an island after a plane crashed.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Bastard is shockingly not about a child without parents. It's demonic. It had to do with a cult trying to sacrifice people. Dormouse was a throwback to film noir detective stuff that actually had a pretty good setting. Wasn't great, but had its moments. Baby Ruby had the painter from Portrait of a Lady on Fire. She was pregnant and worried that her kid might actually be kind of demonic. No, not Rosemary's Baby. Couldn't be that good. Attachment had to do with a relationship that got fractured. Attachment had to do, if I remember right, with I think it was there was some kind. Hold up. Oh, it was a Danish has-been. Oh, that's right. It was a lesbian relationship. It was a Danish has-been actress, and it was another Jewish-based movie,
mm-hmm.
which it was actually pretty good. It was a Shudder original.
Mm-hmm.
In Dreams was a messy film that was, I think, in Spanish or Italian. Spanish, I think, and it had to do with a wife trying to stop her husband from killing her. I think Legions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was Legions was was from Chile, I think. Something about destroying evil among father and daughter. Swallowed had to do with guys trying to transport drugs across the Mexican border. Jenna Malone was in it,
Mm-hmm.
and it should have leaned more into the body horror, but it was pretty good. Disquiet had John Rhys Davies?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it John Rhys Myers? The
I don't
one
know.
that wasn't in Indiana Jones. John Rhys, let's see, Disquiet. The guy got in an accident, was trapped in a hospital. John Rhys Myers. John
Okay.
Rhys Davies is Indiana Jones. Jesus Christ.
We'll talk about that one.
Oh, God, will we ever? Disquiet, but yeah, guy was in a hospital, and it was like he was like in limbo. R.E. Member, a.k.a. Remember Member. It's a bad translation of a South Korean or Japanese Netflix original. They had to fight some evil. I watch a lot of horror movies, just in case you hadn't gathered that, folks. It was all right.
Mm-hmm.
Sharper had Julianne Moore in it, and it was supposed to be an espionage-type thriller. I love Julianne Moore. God, do I ever, but it was not good.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from A24. That disappointed me. Somebody I used to know, I think, was the one that had Alison Brie in it, and was about reflecting on your past. I mean, I like Alison Brie a lot, but that was about all I remember. They Wait in the Dark. I remember there was a woman in this that was in her first acting role named Paige Maria, I believe, that actually impressed me. It was about trying to get... It was about, evil coming after a family. Let's see, Paige Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Paige Maria. She was actually pretty good. It was a lesbian relationship that went sour, from what I remember. Alice Darling had Anna Kendrick in it. That's about all I remember. She was trying to get away from an abusive boyfriend. The Strays. Oh, God, The Strays. A girl left her family, traded up for a rich family, and then left that family when that thing went tits up. No,
Mm-hmm.
really, that was the plot. Hugh Sara, the Bone Woman, was a Spanish movie about a woman going through a lot of grief and birth, and it was actually really good. It was actually shockingly one of the best horror movies I've seen this year.
Mm-hmm.
When You Finish Saving the World, I believe also had Julianne Moore, if I remember right. God, there's a lot of love for Julianne Moore on this particular deal. When You... Yep, Julianne Moore. Finn Wolfhard, who was in It, or maybe he was in Stranger Things. I've never watched Stranger Things, so I don't know.
I didn't either.
Yeah, Cocaine Bear we talked about. A Lot of Nothing it was about racism and a couple that couple thought that their cop neighbor was racist and killing people, I think. Bunker, I got a lot of shit for because it was an independent movie set in a World War II bunker, but it was so cheap that nobody had dirt on their uniforms, and it took place over like 50 feet of land, and it was about ghosts. Spoonful of Sugar. It's like Orphan if Orphan went south.
Okay.
Spoonful of Sugar actually is good, but it's like if the plot of Orphan went south. Here's a big budget one. It was directed by Guy Ritchie. It had Jason Statham. It had Hugh Grant, Aubrey Plaza, who I adore. Operation Fortune, Rose de Guerre. If you've seen Snatch or you've seen his comedies like that,
Mm-hmm.
then you know what to expect. Except watch those because this wasn't any good.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember watching that and just thinking, when is the comedy going to start? Consecration, Jenna Malone again. Why is Jenna Malone in so many of these bad movies, I wonder? Very religious-based, Catholic Church, and that's it. Demons. 65 was one. That was the Adam Driver dinosaur one.
Yeah, I never got around to seeing. I know it was bad, but I never got around to seeing it.
Oh, it wasn't just bad. It was outright putrid. And Adam Driver's good.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Driver's very good. He was great in Marriage Story. That's a heartbreaking one to watch, but he was great in that. But yeah, 65 was not good. Women Talking, Mennonite Community, and Women Finally is based on a true story. I forget what country it was taking place in. But it's a hell of a cast, great talking pieces, great dialogue pieces. Problem is the movie also, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but it was pretty well done. Cyan, or say Cyan, I think that's how it's pronounced. It's from Paraguay or somewhere there. It was an Amazon original, and it was fine. It was action-y type. There was an environmentalist twist. Unseen. I think that was the one where there were two people and they were on a phone call, a video call, while a girl had her glasses broken and was having somebody be her eyes so she could get away from this killer. And then I watched Moving On. That had Jane Fonda in it. In fact, I think I saw 3 or 4 movies of Jane Fonda in it this year. That was her and Lily Tomlin, who was great. It was more of an old person movie. It had Terrence Stamp in it. It was a bit dark, but it was fun. I'll find a stopping point here. The Creeping, that was a UK-based horror movie that had to do with grief and demons. The Park was post-apocalyptic with children or teens, and seemed to take place over like 3 locations. The Long Dark Trail was about boys reflecting on their past and trying to find out why their mother left them. The Lake was like if South Korea tried to make a Godzilla movie, but made it really, or was it South Korea or no? Maybe Taiwan. I think it was Taiwan, actually, because South Korea can make good movies. Yeah, The Lake was terrible. Here's one that I really hated. Children of the Corn.
I heard of it.
One of the many Children of the Corn movies.
Okay, maybe that's why. If it's a remake, that's probably why I've heard of it.
No, it's a continuation. Well, actually, it is kind of a remake, too. Because instead of a guy or a boy, there's a girl as the leader. If you don't know the plot of Children of the Corn, there's children that turn evil and they kill all the adults, folks. That's about it for the movie. Yeah, it sat on the shelf for 3 years and should have never even sat on the shelf. They should have burned this thing. It was awful. It's some of the worst special effects that I've seen in a while. Unwelcome had to do with people moving to Ireland or something. They did not feed the elves or little dwarves or whatever the hell they were, and things went south. And it could have been funny, and it could have been good and comedic, but it wasn't. And I'll actually get to, after 2 more, we'll get to one that you may have watched, Sound of Silence. It was Italian. There was something about a record player, and the sound design was terrible. Ironic for a movie with sound in the title. And Leave, God, let's see. Leave, I think, just literally had to do with some... Oh, yeah, Leave, I think, was the one where I think there was something really bad. No? Leave had to do with this couple that... or no, this girl that was looking for her origins in Norway. God, there's a lot of movies that I've watched that took place in Norway. Let me see.
A lot of Norway movies.
A lot of Norway movies. Anyway, did you see Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves?
I did. I have that on my list.
Yeah, I was going to say that was the next one on mine.
So I saw it. I'm not a Dungeons and Dragons guy. I've never played the game. I just wanted to give it a shot. I thought it was fine. It wasn't one of the better ones I've seen this year. I assume you probably thought it was trash, though.
I actually really liked it.
Really? I'm surprised. I honestly, like I said, thought you would think it was trash. That's interesting.
Here's the thing. I thought it was going to be trash also. I watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie that Jeremy Irons was in back in 2000.
Yep.
That was really, really terrible, and I had no expectations for this. I saw a sneak peek. I think it was on a Sunday. I had to drive like about 30 miles and watch it, and no, I really had a great time.
Wow. Did you think it was like, what did you like about it specifically?
I just thought that they balanced the characters well. They kept the pace up even though it was over 2 hours. Chris Pine was entertaining.
Yeah, he's in it. I like Chris Pine, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't make me hate Michelle Rodriguez. I still couldn't believe that the one that was the elf-type girl, the redhead, was the one that was in It.
The main redheaded girl from It, the first one?
The main redhead. Yeah, the main redhead one. That was the girl from It. Yeah.
Interesting. I think I probably realized that when I was watching it, but I just forget now.
Sophia Lillis or something like that, I think is her name. No, I really enjoyed Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves. I had a great time. Which I didn't think I would. What's something else on your list?
I'm trying to think. I mean, from that period, I mean, you didn't see Shazam, did you?
No.
Yeah.
That was Shazam, Fury of the Gods?
Yeah, the second one. I mean, some of these...
Well, no, go ahead. You can say what you felt about it.
Well, I'll mention, because I don't really have a lot of in-depth analysis on some of these. Like, for example, Shazam I saw the first one, liked it. The second one wasn't nearly as good. It was okay. I mean, I already talked about the DC ones yesterday, actually, on Ask GSM when you asked me about it. And that was,
Right.
Yeah, so that was okay. I know you didn't see John Wick. You told me that before, but John Wick is great. I heard
that. I may review them all next year, folks, but it's just there was only so much time.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I would make time for those at some point, in my opinion. I think they're all excellent movies. And the funny thing is that I didn't see any of them in full until just recently, until I saw this one. I went back and watched 1 through 3 before watching 4. Thought the fourth one was great. And then there's some other ones that I'll get to in a second. But this is kind of going into April. Did you see the Super Mario Bros. Movie?
Absolutely, I did.
Did you? And what did you think? I'm curious.
I loved it. I did not think I would love it at all.
Another one. I really thought you would not like it, John. I'm very surprised, and I'm happy to hear that. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. I loved it.
I had it on my list as well.
Wow.
I will tell you that by the time this comes out, guys, after you listen to this and after you listen to more Graham stuff, I did do 25 best and worst movies of the year list.
Yeah.
Where I went, not necessarily in depth, and because I can't go in depth on that stuff, or I'll go on forever. But no, I love the Super. I did not expect to. I saw the trailer and was like, okay, it might be kind of fun, but Chris Pratt. But you know what? He was good. Jack Black stole the show as Bowser.
He did. Jack Black as Bowser was the best part for sure.
And Charlie Day as Luigi, he was good. And Anya Taylor-Joy, I mean, I love Anya Taylor-Joy a lot. I mean, my God. But she was inconsequential as Peach. She was fine. But Jack Black stole the goddamn show. And yes, it was basically nostalgia. If you've played those games since the beginning, like I have, and know the history, at least to an extent like I do, it was fun. It was just meant to be a blast of fun, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
Was it plot heavy? No.
No, not at all. No, I thought it was just a fun time. It was not supposed to be like a massive storytelling type movie. I agree though. I thought it was just one kind of nostalgia trip for anyone that's seen and play the games, and I thought they delivered it. They connected it very well to the games and whatnot. I thought they did a great job.
Yeah, I mean there were plenty of Easter eggs and plenty of things that went. When they did the commercial in the Super Mario Brothers rap, that was from the Super Mario Brothers Super Show that Captain Lou Albano was in, which I remember from my childhood because, my God, I mean, I think that show came out in 88, 89, so I wasn't even 10 yet.
Wow.
But yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. I mean, going back just to finish up the rest of this, I saw something called Pathan, but it's an indie action movie. Fun, ridiculous. You have to know what you're getting into with the dramatic close-ups and the long pans with that. Craving, it's about drugs and people are trapped in a bar, and also one of them is a creature. That was fine. Malum was a reimagining of The Last Shift that from the same director, and it was good. I enjoyed it. The Unheard, a girl gets implants, not those kind, but hearing implants, and then starts to hear weird voices. The Ghost Within, I think, had something to do with a ghost within a house, I know, as far as titles go, and somebody got trapped in a clock, I think. I don't remember. Close was one of my favorite movies of the year. It was A24. It was French. Two boys had a friendship, and then something severs that friendship. And oh my God, I knew what was coming. I said, "Oh, I know where this is going. I'm not going to like it." Oh. Very heartbreaking, especially if you have anybody go through that. Supercell. Hey, you want to see Twister on a micro budget? Well, here it is. No, really, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You're killing me. Yeah, this movie. Stupid characters. They were around a party, and people couldn't figure out how to act like normal humans. And they would suddenly beat each other up, and then one person would just drop, "Oh, I'm actually injured. Oh no, I'm in trouble." And yeah, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
But one that we saw, we talked about before we went on the air, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey.
I forgot that was this year, but yes, that was atrocious. But it doesn't crack your top 25 worst, though. I know that you talked about that in a separate video. You used that.
No. I reviewed it. I hated it. I did like the pretty girls in the cast. Don't get me wrong. The storybook opening was impressive for the micro budget that it had.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they couldn't make them look exactly the same because even though the idea went in the public domain, there were character designs that they couldn't use, but they didn't lean into the satire part that it should have had.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Winnie the Pooh horror movie.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
It should have been. I thought it should have been funnier than it was for being so bad, but some of it was just like putrid.
I mean, there's Play Dead that I watched. It was about people at a mortuary. One girl broke in to get some evidence to help her brother, and it turned out that the mortician, or whatever, played by Jerry O'Connell, who, yes, was the boyfriend in Scream 2 and was also in Sliders. It was a television show that only people around my age bracket will remember. It was a terrible horror movie. Marry, Fuck, Kill was the actual name of a movie. And it was a game that was played that led to the death of somebody, and then once they get into this house, these people get in this house they're going to refurbish, this ghost plays the game with them. Mm-hmm. I think. The headmistress, which was a name that I laughed uncontrollably at, this lady wanted to fix up another house. Wait, seriously? That's the actual plot? And, yeah, it was bad special effects, bad everything.
Mm-hmm.
There was a movie called The Resurrection of Charles Manson that came out.
How was that?
It was all right. Mm-hmm. A cult wanted to, resurrect Charles Manson. It was atmospheric in the sense at least it had decent shots. It just didn't too much of anything. But one, and I don't know if you watch this, Renfield, the Dracula one that
the one with Nicolas Cage. Yes, no, I did not see that. Was that worthwhile or was it not good?
I had a great time watching it.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check it out then. If you say it's a good movie, I'll probably have to check it out.
Yeah. It had Awkwafina in it.
Okay.
Who voiced Scuttle in The Little Mermaid.
Oh, I know. Trust me, I remember that. Yeah.
She was actually not bad. And Jenna Cannell, who I've loved them since the Bye Bye Man movie, and they were also in the first Terrifier.
Okay.
They were in it. Nicolas Cage was great. Nicholas Hoult, I think, is the name of the other guy. Mm-hmm. The guy that was the younger one, Renfield. It was entertaining. It didn't make a dime at the box office. It failed miserably. Because it came out the same week as The Pope's Exorcist.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that one.
Did you see that one?
No, I didn't see that one.
Don't. Russell Crowe was great, and everything was unintentionally hilarious. If you don't take it seriously, you're just going to absolutely lose it because it was another exorcism movie that was just really bad. Mm-hmm. Mafia Mama was a comedy I saw that had Toni Collette in it from Hereditary and so many other great movies. And it had Monica Bellucci, who is my favorite, one of my favorite actresses. It was an entertaining comedy. It was uneven, but it wasn't bad. Mm-hmm. One that I don't know how you are on anime. I don't know how many Japanese anime movies you've watched.
Not many.
One, Suzume. Beautifully drawn. It was from the person that did Weathering with You, which was a great movie. But no, it was incredible. There was one point where they could have cut 15 minutes out. It didn't need to be 2 hours. There was one point where it ground to a halt. Mm-hmm. but it was beautifully drawn. It makes you feel for a three-legged chair. You see the movie, you'll understand, folks.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was great. So anything that comes out, like, in your mind, like in April?
From that time period, not really. I mean, I mentioned the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I think that was the only one that I had seen that really stood out. I watched Knock at the Cabin in May, and that came out earlier. We already talked about that. I saw Guardians. I mean, I'm a big Marvel guy, so, I saw that
I was going to say, how did that wrap up the series? Because
I thought it did a great job. I love the first two. I'm biased. I love the first two. I thought the third one was fantastic. Dave Bautista, obviously, again, did a great job. And if you like the other two, you'll like this one too. That was honestly one of my favorite. We'll mention it at the end, but that was my probably one or two or three. It's in the top three. But that was May, and then Fast X as well. I had seen, which was actually better than I thought it would, because I thought the last one when they went on the moon was fucking stupid.
I didn't watch Fast X.
I don't blame you, but they did have Jason Momoa in it as the lead villain, and he actually did an amazing job. I thought he was the best part of the movie, but the whole movie was actually fairly entertaining. So that was my May stuff.
He seemed like from close what I was seeing is that he was at least having fun with the fact that the movie is that the franchise is well past any point where it's like, how the hell can we take this seriously?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I just go into it at this point expecting that, so that's why I enjoyed this probably for what it is.
Did you see Tetris, that Tetris movie?
No, I don't even know if that sounds familiar. I mean, I know what Tetris is, but I haven't seen the movie.
Did you see the Kingsman movies?
Yes, I saw the first and second one.
The Taylor Egerton, or whatever the hell you say.
Oh, Egerton or whatever his name is? Yeah.
Egerton, thank you. I haven't slept in a while. He was the star in that. It was actually pretty good. That was on, I think, Apple TV, and I actually got a trial of Apple TV to watch that and Sharper and some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was enjoyable. I don't know if it was as great as I think some people said, but as far as telling a cohesive story, it was entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
There was one called 80 for Brady that was about the old women that wanted to go see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
Yes, I saw. I didn't see that one, but I know what you're talking about, yeah.
It wasn't very funny. I mean, it's all these older women that were entertained in their day. Another Jane Fonda movie. I believe Lily Taylor was also in this.
Oh, okay.
What the hell one was... not the one that was in The Conjuring. Not her, but the one that did the hide and clap. Anyway, so yeah, it was them reuniting for that. It was inoffensive, but I think Diane Keaton actually was in that one now that I think about it. But Diane Keaton apparently just has nothing but time on her hands because she's just been in a whole bunch of stuff. But
a bunch of random shit.
It wasn't very good. They did a Power Rangers Netflix original.
Mm-hmm.
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always. If you're a fan of Power Rangers, you'll appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to get much out of it. Mm-hmm. Beau is Afraid. That was high profile.
Mm-hmm.
The Joaquin Phoenix one that looked like going through an anxiety trip. Did you see that?
No, but I remember hearing about it at the time.
Well, depending on how you felt about Hereditary and or Midsummer, it'll dictate how you feel about this, because it's fucked up there. Joaquin Phoenix is great. For those that have seen it, this is without spoiling, but for those who have seen it, you will know what I mean when I say this. There is a scene in an attic that will stick with me for the rest of my life, because I don't know what the hell Ari Aster was smoking when he did that, but it was wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I really enjoyed it. It was a double feature I did with Evil Dead Rise, which is the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever watched any of the Evil Dead movies?
No, they're just not for me. I know that one came out this year that you just talked about and that we chatted about before, but I like that type of horror isn't for me. I like the dumb stuff like, Thanksgiving and shit like that, and Scream isn't...
Oh, don't worry. We'll get to Thanksgiving too, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't like that sort of stuff.
I'm 50-50 on the... I retro-reviewed all the Evil Dead movies. The first one is low budget and has a great story as far as how they got it made. Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell even levied some property his family owned to help finance it, and then it succeeded. But anyway, the second one was entertaining. The third one, Army of Darkness, was good, but it flopped badly. Then they did the 2013 one; it wasn't good. Evil Dead Rise, I thought was great. I thought one of
I
my
heard it was
favorite
great. I mean, I'm not going to see it, but I heard it was great though. Yeah.
I did not expect it to be great. I expected, okay, but yep, quite enjoyable. Then Ghosted. Hey, let's take two pretty people, Ana de Armas, who is incredibly attractive, and Chris Evans. Two very talented, pretty people, and put them in a really bad action comedy where they don't say anything funny or do anything good.
Mm-hmm.
That was an Apple. Apple TV does not have good originals.
No, they don't. That's why not many people have Apple TV.
Yeah, I refuse to have it anymore. A Tourist Guide to Love. It had Rachel Lee Cook in it, who I've loved since She's All That, so I'll give it a shot. She was in the Spirit Halloween movie.
Oh, don't tell me about that. I watched that finally.
Yeah, I was curious how you felt about that one.
You know, listen, I know you know I love Christopher Lloyd, and even he,
yes,
you know, he was I can't even call. I mean, he did what he did, and he just got the paycheck. Good for him. But the movie itself was awful. I mean, let's be honest, it was what it was.
What was he in for the first 5 minutes?
Seriously, and you told me that ahead of time, so I knew what to expect. You're like, yeah, don't expect him to be in it. He was in it for 5 minutes, came back at the end, you hear his voice, and that was it. It was terrible.
Well, and you met him and Michael J. Fox, right?
Yeah, no, they're great. I love them, but I'll watch anything most of them are in. Either of them are in, but you know, I'll go into it expecting what to expect. As far as knowing it'll be bad, I will not get my hopes up.
And look, I didn't expect much. It's called the Spirit Halloween. I'm like,
yeah, it's based on a fucking costume store. Yeah. I
mean, and Christopher Lloyd is near or at 90, so I mean, what else do you expect him to do? I mean, bless his heart. I mean, if he wants to keep being and stuff, but A Tourist Guide to Love, I think Rachel Lee Cook was a realtor and went to Vietnam or Taiwan or one of the two. It was fine. One that I hated, it was from the people that did Super Troopers, called Quasi. It's about a hunchback. I wanted to basically chase everybody in the movie out into the sea. One of the least funny movies I have seen in years.
Was that on your list of worst for the year, top 25?
Oh, yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, it is. Oh, we'll get to that when we get to it. But yeah, Quasi was terrible. There was one called Ennis Men, or an Ennis Man. A lady's isolated on an island somewhere in the UK. It's weird. She kind of goes crazy from isolation. It's from Neon Studios. It's hard to describe otherwise. Somewhere in Queens was another one, had Ray Romano in it.
Okay.
It was his directorial debut. It was fine. It was fine for what it was. Reaper Man. Oof, God. The Reaper Man. Oh yeah, guy gets killed in a hate crime and comes back, and that budget maybe was about $5,000. Seriously, it was cheap. War of the Worlds: The Attack was a cheap knockoff of the War of the Worlds movies. Was not good. The Tank had to do with a monster in a water tank. One of my favorite movies of the year. Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret.
One of your favorites? Okay, why was that?
I thought the performances were really good. Kathy Bates is great as a guilt-ridden Jewish mother. Rachel McAdams was great in it. Abby, God, I always forget this young lady's name. Let's see, Abby Ryder Forston, the one that played the little girl in it. She was great. And it was a great coming-of-age stuff that didn't hit you over the head with all the stuff about what women go through, but it told it in a great way. As far as performances and laying the shit out, I just thought it was great. I just thought it was really good. I thought, as far as performances, I thought it didn't overstay its welcome. It was magnificent as far as how they laid it out. I just thought it was really good. And then we got to Polite Society. That was the indie UK movie that I talked about, and I don't think anybody else really bothered reviewing because it didn't do anything at the box office. Had a weird twist in the middle of it, but it was about sisterhood and bonding and stuff like that. Sisu, a guy in the immediate end of World War II, finds some gold, some Nazis take it from him, and they find out they messed with the wrong guy. It's like Die Hard, but killing Nazis.
In a good way? I mean, I love Die Hard, so is that
in a really good way.
Okay.
Oh, no, it was great. Sisu was great.
Okay.
So was Polite Society. I'll finish this up here. Peter Pan and Wendy was yet another Disney trek into the deepest, darkest grave.
For live action, yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't like it at all. Jude Law was in it. It basically made the Peter Pan story bleak. They made Peter more of the villain than ever before, which, to be honest, Peter kind of is the villain. He traps all those children with him.
Yeah.
From Black, I don't even remember what the hell From Black was about. So let's move on. The Astral Woods, this couple comes up with this idea to do an insurance scam. A lady's going to pretend to be dead for a number of years, and then she gets left by her husband in a cabin in the woods, and this cabin might have supernatural things about it. It actually wasn't bad. It was low budget, but it was fine. And then Clock. Clock had to do with a woman's biological clock. She gets an experimental treatment done to have a kid, and then goes tits up. And there was a clock that got broken in it. That much I remember. Mm-hmm. So I think we're in May now. Are we in May? God, where the hell am I on this goddamn list? I think we're in May now.
Okay.
So I don't know what you saw in May. You already mentioned Guardians.
Yeah, no, I mentioned my May movies. That was I saw Guardians and Fast X were just my two main two. But I already mentioned those. What were the other ones?
Okay, let me.
Go ahead.
I'm going to blitz through some more while you're looking at that. Kill Her Goats. It had the guy that played the later rendition of Jason Voorhees, Kane Hodder, and it was Kickstarter funded. I remember it had some creative kills in the beginning. Then they put some porn actresses in it for the rest of the movie until they remembered they had a killer. And some goats showed up, and a girl went nuts.
That's quite the plot.
That's about all I remember. What's that?
I said that's quite the plot.
Yeah, well, they certainly did something. I just don't know what it was, and they didn't either. Acid Man was not about doing drugs. It was about the guy that played the Sandman in Spider-Man 3.
Oh, Thomas Hayden Church, yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
don't ask me how I know that.
No, well, I mean, you know your superhero movies. I was like Thomas something. He was like a guy living in a trailer and was kind of going a little bit insane. It wasn't a horror movie. It was about his daughter reconnecting with him. Mm-hmm. It was all right. Inside had Willem Dafoe locked inside an apartment that was like a vault, and he had to break out of it after trying to steal some art. It was stupid.
I like Willem Dafoe, so that's disappointing.
Willem Dafoe is great, and I will talk about him being great in another movie a little bit later. The Artifice Girl was a great independent movie. God, I'm trying to remember the name of the goddamn director because I've watched so many of these freaking things, but it was about AI that, what the effects of AI, like, and how far we could take it before it would get ridiculous. Franklin Rich, who also was in the movie, actually, as one of the main characters. He wore a lot of hats in that. But no, Franklin Rich did a great job here. It made you feel for the AI, made it feel like it was actually alive. And it only took place in like 3 or 4 locations. And he somehow managed to craft a hell of a story. Book Club, The Next Chapter. Okay, look, the first book club, if you're not familiar with the first book club, you have Diane Keaton. Once again, Diane Keaton and Jane Fonda, they're all over this goddamn list. It's basically a continuation of the events of the first one, except now they're a bit older, and there's a wedding in Italy. I think it was Italy. It was fine. I saw a sneak screening of it. One that I encourage people to watch, a coming-of-age movie called Of an Age. LGBTQ influence, so if that bothers you, fuck you. No, look, people can believe what they want, but just let's accept people as they are. But of an age, yeah, it had to do with like a romance that started at a young age, and then they reconnected sometime later. It was actually really well done. It was on Peacock. I think it's on Amazon Prime now.
Mm-hmm.
Followers. Followers was about getting followers for a channel. So as far as titles go, pretty literal. Yeah, it was okay. I think kids were trying to discover if a place was really haunted. And one that was one of the worst movies of the year, Knights of the Zodiac. It was based on a popular anime, apparently, allegedly, I guess. And I hate it. I compare it to Dragon Ball Evolution, and somebody said that I was completely wrong about that, and that's fine. They can be wrong if they want. $60 million, Sean Bean, Famke Johnson, or Famke Janssen, whoever played, however you pronounce her, Jean Grey from the X-Men movies. You know, the one that's basically looked the same since she was in GoldenEye.
Yeah, I know what she looks like. Yeah, I don't know the name, though.
Yeah. Yeah, she was also in Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. But, yeah, not good. Not good at all. Belonged in the early 2000s. Hypnotic was that one with Ben Affleck, who was looking for his daughter. It was directed by Robert Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah, I know Robert.
They tried to be they tried to be mind-bending. It was stupid. Really stupid. Holy shit. Jesus. Okay, let's just get to the end of May here. We could talk about another one. The Mother had Jennifer Lopez as a former assassin. It was on Netflix. It was terrible. White Men Can't Jump. I didn't know who Jack Harlow was before this, and I hate him now. Tiana Taylor was in this, and she was in one of my least favorite movies and one of my favorite movies of the year. I'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, White Men Can't Jump was terrible. Mercy Falls. Nicolette McCowan. I'm sorry. I don't think she'd be listening to this. She's an actress that was in it. Scottish. It was a Scotland-based movie. And it was about a camping trip that basically goes completely, or a hike that goes completely awry. She was great in it. And the other cast was good. It was a low budget effort that's on Tubi. Sleeping Beauties. A guy experimented on women, and there were a bunch of ghost brides in it, and there was really, really bad acting. Pretty much it got worse with every scene. One of my worst movies of the year, Wildflower, had the girl from the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. However the hell you pronounce her name. She was in it.
I'm not sure who that is.
Oh God, she was in something else. I don't remember. Let's see, Wildflower. They came calling Wildflower. Kieran Shipka. She was in something called Care. She was in remember that Totally Killer movie?
Oh yeah. I mean,
the girl that was in that.
Oh, the main girl, or is she another?
Yeah, the main girl.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in that. Wildflower is actually pretty good. It was like she was in a coma and reflecting on stuff that happened in her life, going through memories. The Fearway, people were caught in an endless loop on a highway. Bury the Bride. They should have buried that movie because, people were attacked by a group that thought if they killed a woman that they would gain absolute power, I think. Mm-hmm. Here's one that I know we both watched, at least I think you did, The Little Mermaid.
Yes, I did see that, yes.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was kind of there for me, and I don't like whoever you mentioned her before, Awkwafina.
Awkwafina.
She was easily the worst part about it. But I've seen worse Disney live action remakes. I've seen far better. It was what it was. Let's put it that way. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but that doesn't make it necessarily good or great.
Halle Bailey, who was Ariel, did not deserve the hate that she got. A black Little Mermaid. Who cares?
Yeah, no, that was ridiculous, that whole thing, yeah.
She sung fine. Javier Bardem, who I love, he was wasted as King Triton. Melissa McCarthy, who I'm not a fan of, did fine as Ursula. But that 200-something million they spent on that. Mm-hmm. You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah.
And David, whatever his name is, the guy that was from Hamilton that voiced Sebastian, he was wasted in that.
Yep.
But I got killed for saying that movie was terrible. I forget exactly what I forget exactly how I worded it, but when I did an intro for my review, I said this remake doesn't walk, it doesn't run, it should have been hurled straight up into the sun.
Oh man,
because I'm creative with my insults now. I didn't like Little Mermaid at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually one of 3 movies I saw. I did a 3-movie block that day. Yeah, I watched Kandahar that had Gerard Butler in it. Gerard Butler's just being anything.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
He was in some Arab country. I really don't remember which. Well, I think it was Kandahar, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a city. You Hurt My Feelings. That had Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It was from A24, and it was good. It was good about how words can hurt. Influencer, Shudder original. It was about how easily somebody's life can be taken over, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Kinda, maybe. Well, it's hard to explain unless you watch, but it was pretty good. 1001 was the one Tiana Taylor was in, and it was about her and her son and them growing up, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
She needs to have a goddamn Golden Globe nomination. I mean that with the absolute most praise. I can heap praise on her performance all day.
Mm-hmm.
And the ones that played the son, especially the teenage one, there was one scene, I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but there's one scene where something's revealed between her and the teenage son that you could just see and feel the pain in both their faces, especially the son, and it's great. 1001, I heard praise about it. I didn't get a chance to see it. I loved it. I think we're in June now, actually, now that I think about it. Because I remember, did you see trailers for The Boogeyman?
Yeah, I heard that was not good.
Yeah, the one where the girl rolled the glowing ball underneath the bed.
I didn't know that, but I remember seeing the trailers for it, the movie.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why PG-13 horror is hard to pull off, because they didn't hear. Terrible. Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not scary, not atmospheric. There were people who were like, you're too harsh on it. The fuck I am. I could have ripped that apart a lot more. Tin and Tina. Have you ever seen The Village of the Damned, or at least seen a shot of it, and you see the Aryan Nation-type children that look all creepy? Yeah, take that and make it a Spanish movie, and you basically have this.
Mm-hmm.
Forest of Death. People got killed in a forest of death. Like, really, it was found footage.
That was the...
Lila.
Wow.
Lila was a Tubi original.
Mm-hmm.
It looked great. It was incredibly... Some of the best cinematography I've seen in an independent movie in years.
Mm-hmm.
And it make a goddamn lick of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Guy was trying to write his book, but he kept getting... weird stuff kept happening, I think. Okay, let's see. Let's get to a stopping point here. I've watched so much schlock this year. Let's get to the end of June. The Harbinger. It's about death. It's about how easily people can be forgotten. It was pretty good. Wolf Garden was okay. It was about love and loss. Brooklyn 4-5 is one of my favorite movies of the year as far as horror, and the director did a really good job. Something Geoghegan, I think was his... Geohagen, I think was his last name. He used his grandfather's World War II influence, or World War II memories, to influence something telling about the aftermath of World War II among friends. It was good, though. It was really good. It mainly took place in one location. The Haunting of Alexis King. It was a bunch of friends making a movie about a haunting, and you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
I got 6 minutes out of my review.
Wow.
The Black Demon. Not the worst shark movie I've seen this year. The Price We Pay. It was from the director of No. That was that movie that, the future Tyrus was in when he was Brodus Clay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the price we pay, basically, a robbery goes tits up, they take a hostage, they go to a farm where a lot of bad shit happens. She came from the woods, 80s homage to slashers. It was all right. Trinket box. It was so dark you couldn't see what the hell was going on. It was so dark that Hulk Hogan started throwing insults at it.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. Elemental. You saw Elemental.
Yeah, I saw Elemental. Yeah, that was one of the ones I wanted to bring up. I thought it was good. I mean, again, I talked about the Pixar movies yesterday on hashtag AskGSM, but, I thought it was good.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I thought it had a good emotional punch, even though it's familiar territory.
Yeah.
It's not going to set the world on fire.
No, I thought it was. I enjoyed it. It was a good, Pixar movie.
But yeah, considering my expectations weren't very high for it, I actually thought that Elemental was certainly the better of the two movies that I saw that day. But yeah, Elemental was enjoyable. It looked great.
No.
It had a great family dynamic. It had a good punch to it as far as, like, the pace. Yeah, okay, there were a couple parts that dragged, and a lot of it where it seems like, okay, I've seen this shit before. I've seen them do this stuff before.
Yeah.
But it was good. It looked great.
Yeah, no, it was the Pixar movies are always pretty consistently solid, if nothing else, So, I enjoyed it.
Pixar then, Disney, they're going to put the money into it. They put like $200 million into it.
Yeah.
One that I watched, and you may have seen the trailers for it, or at least heard me talk about, The Blackening.
Yes, I remember when this came out. Didn't see it, but yes, I remember you talking about it, though.
It wasn't awful, but for people saying, oh, it's so hilarious, and oh, it plays on all the black stereotypes in horror movies, and yeah, it didn't have nearly as much fun with it, I think, as it should have. It just didn't click. It had moments that were funny, but watching it, I'm like, obviously, for those that can't tell by my voice and those who have seen the videos, obviously I'm not black, so obviously I would not get maybe I wouldn't get all the nuances, because this seemed to be very much about that kind of stuff. But that being said, it was a movie that had entertaining moments, but it wasn't really good.
Mm-hmm.
They might do a second one. I did like how the game that they had, and the people that are old movie fans will get this. It had a face that looked like Al Jolson's The Jazz Singer.
Mm-hmm.
Google that one, kids, and then delete the history immediately. But yeah, it was all right.
Mm-hmm.
Past Lives is something I really liked. Childhood crushes reunite years later. And it was just a beautifully well-told story, and the way the director and writer Celine Song did it, she did great.
Mm-hmm.
She did great with it, great performances. There was Sanctuary. Andie MacDowell, if you know that name, her daughter was in it.
Okay.
It was like an S&M rom-com type thing.
Mm-hmm.
No Hard Feelings. The Jennifer Lawrence one, that was the comedy, about her doing her trying to get her life back on track, and she had to date a kid that was about to go to college. And I think Don Johnson was the father.
Okay.
The guy from, it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
There's one funny part on a beach where it was a naked Jennifer Lawrence throwing people around,
mm-hmm.
which is an appealing thought, don't get me wrong, but the movie unfortunately just didn't work. The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster is an actual title.
Mm-hmm.
Girl plays Frankenstein. And, Lisa Frankenstein's coming out in 2024. But The Angry Black Girl and Her Monster, it was good. It was well done. I don't think it was quite as good as some of the other people said. The Captive, The Captive, I think, was one that I actually got that the writer didn't get upset, but he said, hey, thanks for reviewing it. And then I look at the name, I go, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. It was people in a house and an invasion. Something having to do with demons. Aged was the one that I saw the guy who directed Those Who Call did. And Aged was better, but it still wasn't very good. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope Anubis Lopez, no, that's his actual name, not the god Anubis. I hope he does well. But anyway, Baby Blue was about like a killer that haunted people. It was like a serial killer, but his ghost is still around. How to Blow Up a Pipeline was tremendous, about environmentalists, because that's the word I can come up with.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to, blow up a pipeline, so pretty literal title, from Neon Studios. But one that we both saw, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yes, I did see this one. Yes. Listen, I enjoyed it for what it was. I did. I'm not going to say it was a great movie, but I thought it was pretty good. But I know you did not like it at all, right?
No, I didn't. $300 million that they spent on that goddamn thing.
Big budget, I will say that. Big budget.
Terrible green screen effects. And look, Harrison Ford is about a third of the age of Zoe Stark. That's a deep cut for people that watch my channel. But anyway, I know he's old. I know they have to do the camera cuts and they have to do the stuff, but it's like just from the beginning, yes, they had the prolonged opening on the train. They had a part near the end. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Where they go to a time and Indy wants to relive history. That much I'll say. And I go, they lost the plot. They lost the goddamn plot. Karen Gillan, Karen something or other. I don't remember the lady's name. The one that played Marion. She was in it.
Yep.
And look, it had a nice way to tie the whole thing together, but I'm sorry. It just wasn't good. I didn't like it at all. It's on my worst movies of the year list. It just...
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, actually. Did I do... Oh, yeah, I did do a double feature. I watched that, and then I watched the following one. But I'll say that in a second. But, no, Indy 5, because I did not like Indy 4. It was all right for what it was.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't like 4 either.
Yeah, to me, this was right. This was worse than 4 just because they should have known better. But whatever. And I even rewatched all of them before I watched this one.
Yeah, me too.
Which was, and I mean, and I admit Temple of Doom does have its moments where it's like, okay, it might be the least of the 3, but it's still entertaining. But it did lean more into the horror stuff. It just wasn't very good. Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken was the other one that I watched. That was the animated one about the Kraken that also had Jane Fonda in it. Good God, Jane Fonda and Diane Keaton have been all over this list again. You saw the trailers for that one, right?
I think so. I can't recall.
Yeah, well, it wasn't good. It was cheap. It was another example of DreamWorks being the DC to Disney's Marvel. And DreamWorks has done some great shit. But it's been few and far between. Let's go through some more. What the hell are we at? I'm going to get to some big ones here soon. Run, Rabbit, Run. I probably was too kind to it. It was a Netflix original about a mother losing grip on her daughter.
Okay.
Her daughter going a little insane because of family trauma. Godless, the Eastfield Exorcism was on Tubi and showed how exorcisms and religion can go tits up. Joyride was that all-Asian comedy that got a lot of attention. I don't know if you saw the trailers for it or not.
No, I haven't seen the trailer for that one, no.
Joyride was actually a lot of fun. If you were someone you know has that Stars channel, try to see if it's on there. It's a gross-out comedy in the sense that it is pretty vulgar. But one actress that stands out there besides Ashley Park, who's the main lead, Sherry Cola is like the wisecracking sidekick. She was great in that, and also in another thing I'll mention. Did you see the Insidious movies?
I have not seen those. That kind of falls in the Evil Dead category for me, where like too horror-ish for me to watch. So no, I haven't seen them.
I mean, and you watch what you want. You got plenty of stuff that you're doing, but Evil Dead's a lot better than the Insidious movies.
Okay.
Because I saw Insidious: The Red Door. this should have been Insidious, the red pit. They should have thrown it into a pit. They should have buried it, and it should have never been seen.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Wilson, who, for those that have watched the Conjuring movies, was Ed Warren.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the Conjuring movies?
Nope, same thing. Haven't seen those either. I know what they are. Haven't seen them.
Okay. Well, he was in. Did you see Aquaman 2?
I haven't seen that. I don't know if I will, but I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, he was the one in the if you saw the trailer where he says heroes make bridges or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
That guy,
okay.
Patrick Wilson. Yeah, I'm trying to come up with a movie because he's been in a lot of shit. He directed this one, and it was not good. The problem is if you haven't seen the other Insidious movies, you can watch this and think, okay, it might be shocking. The thing is, if you've seen the other Insidious movies, which I did the same thing for Indiana Jones, did for Insidious, I watched, or strike that, reverse it, I rewatched all of them. If you know the story, you know where this is going to go, and you know that a lot of it is like, okay, the viewer know, and we're watching these people try to figure out these memories they suppressed, but it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not scary at all. God damn. We'll get to actually a couple big ones that I believe you watch here in a bit. Was there anything in June besides Indiana Jones that you watched that you can think of?
Yeah, well, aside from, we talked about Elemental, Indiana Jones, Little Mermaid, those ones. The other two that I did see, I saw The Flash, which I actually enjoyed more than I thought I would. Another one of those movies that got a bad rap, and understandably so, because a lot of the shit that the main guy's done, Ezra Miller, yeah. I actually like that. And then the bigger one that we'll talk about a little bit more at the end as far as for favorites, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I know you haven't seen it yet, but that to me was just amazing. One of the best animated films I've actually ever seen. That was fantastic.
I've heard that. Folks, I only had so many hours in the day, so but no, keep talking what you were saying.
Yeah, no, that was it. Just an amazing movie, and they're making the third one. It was supposed to come out next year, 2024. Doesn't look like it will. Probably 2025, but that was just fantastic. So, some good stuff in June. I saw more in that month than any other month prior to that point in 2023 up to that point. So, that was my month of June. We're pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, I saw Into the Spider-Verse. My best friend Chris showed it to me, and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. It's just, again, I'm not as deep into the lore of the superhero movies, but I respect them. Like I kind of started to check out around the third Captain America movie, but there was some really good stuff. And what clips I saw, like they put so much vibrant effort and color and everything into it. It was a lot of fun. It looked great. So I probably will watch it at some point. But, just, again, hard to get to all this stuff. Let me just run through these really quick. Emily, A- is what I gave it. It was a really good thing about an author, a poet, that it told her life was really good performances. I don't know if this is great as everybody said, but nevertheless, Rye Lane was an incredible rom-com about two recently, not divorced, they had gone through recent breakups, they met, and it was somewhere in London or in the environs. It was really good, following them for a day. I had a lot of fun watching Rye Lane. I think it's on Hulu. Walking Through the Rain was a little bit weird. That was one where it was a couple that ended up, feeling some kind of weird dread going on, and something that they weren't supposed to do, they did, and then something got unleashed. Follow Her is not about my dating policy. It is about a girl that ends up, getting her followers, or getting issues with one of her followers, and trapped in a house, I think. I think that was. Cabin Girl was another Tubi original. It was all right. It wasn't the best, but it had a decent atmosphere and halfway decent acting. Nefarious was crackpot stuff that was practically hitting you over the head with religion, and it was about two guys talking, one guy on death row, one guy trying to prove that he was fit for death row and that he wasn't insane, and it was terrible. Also had Glenn Beck in it. If you know who Glenn Beck is.
Yeah.
We talked about this off air. Bird Box, Barcelona.
I didn't think that was this year. I must be thinking of something else. I did not think that was in 2023.
Yeah, no, I forgot that I watched it until I looked at my list again, and I hated the first Bird Box, and this one was no better. This actually was worse.
Interesting.
Well, you saw the first Bird Box, right?
No, I haven't seen that one either.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
let's just say they had Sarah Paulson in the beginning of it, and that was about the peak of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This one didn't have Sandra Bullock in it because it took place in Barcelona, which was further away from wherever the fuck the first one was. Yeah, not good. Quicksand. A couple gets trapped in some quicksand and has to reflect on their life. That's literally it.
That's ridiculous.
You know, it would have worked fine as a short movie. Unfortunately, they did an 80-minute movie out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The Tutor, which is not about a guy farting, even though that's basically what the movie was. No, it's about a teacher that has his past unraveled and gets somehow dumber than the opening.
Mm-hmm.
The Starling Girl was about a priest that falls in love with a very young girl from his church.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was a good movie, but it was just very,
Mm-hmm.
you know. No Filter had to do with, I think it was a game played on the internet that bit people in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, Barbie.
Oh, yeah, okay. Let's talk about Barbie. I actually really enjoyed Barbie. I thought it was one of the better movies I've seen this year. I thought it was excellent.
I was very surprised that I liked it.
Me
Because
too.
I'm not a big fan of Margot Robbie.
Yeah, yeah, I forgot about that. You said that earlier, yeah.
I'm no GQ cover model. I never will be. But it's like I see her and I hear her in interviews, and she seems nice.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen, you know, like static images that have more going on upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. She was good in that. She played it perfectly. Ryan Gosling stole the show as Ken. Kate McKinnon as the warped Barbie. Issa Rae, who was in it. There's a woman that, when I talked about that Assassination Nation movie years ago, one of the women that was in that, who's transgender, has transitioned to being a woman, Hari Neff, I think that's how you pronounce the name, she was in. It was a great cast. It even made me not hate Will Ferrell.
Okay. That's an impressive feat. I know he did do a good job in the movie. I thought as the boss of Mattel. Why did I say Mattel?
Yeah. Well, we were meddling in other affairs. No, I'm kidding. The sets were great. It was directed by Greta Gerwig, who did the Little Women remake. That, hard to believe, came out about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And she also did Lady Bird. Greta Gerwig. She's acted in some stuff that wasn't all that great, but she did a great job. And I think that was the highest grossing movie of the year, if I'm right.
I believe so. Yeah, well over $1 billion, and it did it deservedly so.
Very much so. It was entertaining as hell. When it opened with Ants Marching by Dave Matthews Band, I said, "Okay, I'm in. I'm in because it fit." The other one that came out, Barbenheimer. So let's go to Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Or Oppenheimer.
Yeah. Another really good one, I thought. I'm not really into this sort of stuff as far as like the movies that might be like great, like Killers of the Flower Moon type thing. I know you said you didn't like it, but the movies that are typically critically acclaimed, I'm not typically the highest on, depending on what it is. This sort of style is not my thing, but I was actually more entertained than I thought. Again, I would be. A lot of movies, it's kind of a recurring theme, exceeded my expectations. I'm not a big history buff, so I can't say if it was 1,000% historically accurate, but I was engaged, and I thought the visuals were great, especially when they set the bomb off, and you kind of had like the lack of noise there. I thought that was a nice touch. I thought it was great. I don't know if it's my movie of the year, but I did think it was a great movie. What about you?
Nope, didn't like it.
Didn't like it? Wow.
Thought it was. I agree with everything that you said. It was well made. The design. It had Florence Pugh in it, who I adore.
Yep.
And Emily Blunt, it had a great cast, and don't get me wrong, the performances are good, but I just thought the movie dragged. I didn't think it was interesting. But I recognize why people like it. Like, I probably was a little bit too harsh when I graded it like I did. It probably would have been more like a 4 or 5 out of 10.
Okay.
But and I grade stuff as far as A through F, guys, just in case you are going to be new to my channel after you listen to this. But it didn't engage me. I did like the color and the black and white stuff, the historically accurate, and the the idea of reshaping things, or this is what could have happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know. For 3 hours, I mean, granted, maybe I shouldn't have watched Barbie and Oppenheimer the same day, but I'm a sucker for trends at almost 43 years old, so why not?
Mm-hmm.
But it was well made, and I get why it made a lot of money. The thing is what stopped this movie from making as much as it could have was the runtime.
Mm-hmm.
Because theaters could only show, if they were lucky, they could show 4 times. If they started one at like 10 a.m. if they opened that early.
Mm-hmm.
But, Barbie was going to make more money because it was shorter.
Yeah.
But they were a big reason why theaters did well. I mean, same with that Taylor Swift concert movie, which no, I didn't see, and I got nothing against Taylor Swift. Calm down, Swifties. You can have a whole bunch of fun and enjoy her. But I didn't watch that one. But that one did well.
It did. Yeah.
One that I liked was Talk to Me.
Okay.
The stone hand one where it was an allegory for drug use. You let a demon possess you for 90 seconds, no longer, or they'll want to stay. It's from A24. I bought it on Blu-ray. Sophie Wilde, who was the lead actress in it, I think that was her first main role. It was directed by 2 YouTubers. They're called the Philippou Brothers.
Okay.
They turned down a larger budget to make it in Australia with the people they wanted. It had one of the best openings of any horror movie that I have seen in the last 15 or 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it had an ending that stuck with a lot of people. It stuck with me, and it was my favorite horror movie of the year until one I'll talk about a little bit later. But I have massive praise for Talk to Me. One I don't have praise for is the Haunted Mansion remake. Did you see that?
I did. I liked it because I liked the Disney ride movies to a certain extent, but, it wasn't one that I might go out of my way to see. I will say this, I did like it more than the Eddie Murphy one that came out 20 years ago. And I love Eddie Murphy. The movie itself I rewatched right after this one, and it was fucking awful, but...
I did the opposite. I actually rewatched the Eddie Murphy one.
You thought that one was better?
Before it. No. I'm saying I actually rewatched it before this new one. The Eddie Murphy one was shorter, so that's the only reason why I might say that I didn't mind it as much. This one, despite the bigger budget, the special effects just didn't look that good.
Mm-hmm.
And it had Owen Wilson in it. It had Rosario Dawson? I think Rosario Dawson?
Yes, she was in it, yep.
I think it was a mother. Who's been great in a lot of stuff. And even the kid, excuse me, that played her son, he was fine. The cast was fine. I think the guy, the black guy with the dreads, I think he was in Sorry to Bother You, or Sorry for Bothering You.
Mm-hmm.
It was that call center one. He's good. He's a good actor. I just felt it dragged on way too long. And Jamie Lee Curtis, what a way to waste Jamie Lee Curtis in a freaking glowing orb.
She wasn't in it very long.
Well, she wasn't given anything to do. But then again, I would take that she did over Halloween Ends.
Mm-hmm.
They Cloned Tyrone was about cloning people, and it was a social commentary on how black people are dealt with in society.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Netflix. It was actually pretty good. Did you see TMNT Mutant Mayhem?
No, I was going to, and I haven't seen it yet.
It wasn't for me.
Okay.
That much I'll say.
No. Did you? So I know with the Mario movie, you love that one, but you grew up with the Mario stuff, so I understand why you like that. And I love that movie too. Did you grow up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or did you, regardless?
I did actually.
Oh, okay.
So
you just didn't.
All
right.
The cartoon, the video games. Okay, let's just say the live-action movies weren't all that great, even when you had Kevin Nash's Super Shredder in the second one. You did have Vanilla Ice with his only other hit, Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you had the Michael Bay produced ones that came out in like the 2000s that weren't very good.
Mm-hmm.
They had Megan Fox in them. I actually forget those even exist. But this one, the comic book style was fine. Io Eldebri, however you say her name. She was in a theater camp in another movie I'm going to talk about here in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
She voiced April. It didn't click with me. It didn't click with me. I didn't think the villains are very good. It dragged, and I think it was only like an hour and a half. I watched it in the RPX, the Regal RPX, their version of IMAX, early, like the day before, or the day before it officially came out, and I didn't like it.
Okay.
And I grew up on Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, so it's not like you didn't watch it. Yeah, that makes sense. That does put it more in perspective.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, there's plenty of shit that I was hoping. That's why I hope if they ever do another Power Rangers movie, they actually do something good. Gran Turismo. You might have heard about that one.
Yes, did hear about it, didn't see it.
Yeah, it was terrible. It tried to capture the spirit of the video games. You had the guy that was in Violent Night, the Santa.
Oh, David Harbour. Yeah, he's in Stranger Things too. Yeah.
Yes, him. I haven't watched Stranger Things. I probably need to watch that at some point, but it's just, he was great. Archie Matowick, who was the lead guy, he was fine. Mm-hmm. It had all the resources. It was also directed by the guy that did District 9, Elysium, and Chappie, Neil Blomkamp. And I saw a special screen of it. Fun fact, I actually saw it at an AMC Lowe's theater, or whatever they're called, all over the world. And it was supposed to just be for AMC investors. Well, everybody else is looking around like, what? Like, we're not AMC investors. We just got our tickets on the Fandango site. And so I sat and watched it. And I played a couple of the Gran Turismo driving simulators. It just, to me, it didn't work. It didn't work. Meg 2, The Trench. Did you see the first Meg?
I saw them both. I mean, listen, I liked the first one to an extent because it was like, again, one of those movies that was bad, but like you enjoy watching it, whatever. This was just fucking dumb to me. I just thought it was really stupid and unnecessary. But what did you think?
I just thought, did they forget there were supposed to be sharks in a movie called Meg 2? Because, like, why do we have this? They're in the trench, and they're battling this espionage type thing. What?
Yeah.
And we have this giant creature, and then let's go away from that. And it's Jason Statham. Yes, when they finally got to some shark stuff going on, it didn't even pick up then. I didn't care. Mm-hmm. And also, fun fact, that was the review that somebody at Warner Brothers decided to try to copyright.
Really?
They tried to copyright strike my shit because I posted it, I think it was Thursday night or Friday morning. I forget when I put it up because I saw it Thursday night, afternoon. And I did that along with another one that I'll talk about here in a bit. But, yeah, they did that, and I won it because I don't ever use footage or any stills or nothing in there. And I won. But then again, Warner Brothers Discovery is ran by idiots, which we can tell. They canceled was it Batgirl? The Batgirl movie?
Yep.
We're going to write that off, but we're going to release Blue Beetle. It bombed, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. Anyway, Meg 2, no, it just wasn't good. It just wasn't, and it had a bigger budget than the other one, I think, and it was bad. Mm-hmm. It was really, really bad.
It sucked, yeah.
Shortcomings was the other one that I watched with Sherry Cola that was a nice coming-of-age type thing about some people, grow apart in friendship or whatever, or some friends, do good things in their life and some try to coast, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. What else did you see around the time of the Meg 2? Because I think we're in August now.
Yeah, the only other movie that we didn't talk about that I did see during that time period was Blue Beetle, which, I mean, well, you said we would, you mentioned, you saw that too.
Oh, no, we could talk about it right now. It's fine.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just mention this. I saw it. I liked it. It was good. Would I rewatch it? Probably not. No. There's been far better DC movies. There's been worse. It was just kind of in the middle to me, and I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was. It was a new hero, new superhero. It had, like, that Latino representation, which I thought was cool. I like George Lopez. Him being in it was kind of random, but I liked his role. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was good, but I'm not exactly shocked that it bombed at the box office because it had no big stars in it whatsoever, and it wasn't like it was so amazing that everyone had to go out of their way to go see it.
Well, and the writers and actors strike, but even to me, even if that hadn't happened, people are like, "Oh, well, it happened, and you had Barbie and Barbie and Oppenheimer had viral marketing. You could still market a movie. Blue Beetle wasn't going to be helped at all, based on just how they've based on how just it wasn't going to be helped, like you said, no big stars. It was a secondary character, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Overall, now the Latino representation, like you said, was great. To me, the villain sucked. I'm not saying the actors, but the villain just sucked.
Who was the villain again? I honestly don't remember.
Susan Sarandon, remember?
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon, and that guy that she had as her charge, or he was a big beefy guy. I remember that.
Yeah.
That movie came out 4.5 months ago. And I don't think it's like I can't recall.
I legit don't. Yeah, I can't.
I don't know. It was all right. But it was kind of sad to see the DCEU, or is it DCEU or DECU?
I think it's DCEU.
I think it is DCEU. I couldn't get that right when I did my goddamn Black Adam review. That wasn't Black Adam, boy. I know that was last year and we talked about, but sheesh. Yeah,
we talked about that last year. Yeah.
Yeah, for good old Dwayne Johnson, blaming everybody but the fact that maybe his star power is fading. I'll run through some ones that I watched. Hidden Strike. It was a 2017 movie that had John Cena and Jackie Chan in it. The only reason I'm talking about it here is it sat on the shelf and came out on Netflix this year.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that would work. No, it didn't. River Wild, a remake of The River Wild, except dumber, with less star power. It's on Netflix. Nightmare Radio, The Night Stalker, is one of a few anthology movies I saw, and a woman with a really thick accent told stories and was also stalked by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Hence The Night Stalker. Hunt Club had Mina Savari, who was formerly a big actress, like in American Beauty and the American Pie movies, and other things that are escaping me. Casper Van Dien of Starship Troopers was in it, and women were hunted on an island, and then they fought back.
Interesting.
The Last Voyage of the Demeter, you might have heard me talk about that one. The Dracula ship one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Dracula was on a ship. That's pretty much it.
I saw the trailer for it. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, but don't bother. Just don't bother. It was like $45 million, and it was a waste. The Communion Girl. I think it was Spanish. A girl was dealing with demonic possession. I think it's on Shudder. The Lurking Fear. Michael Madsen was in it and a few others, and it was on Tubi. Apparently, it cost $3.5 million, and I'd love to know where the other $3.25 million went, because it sure didn't go to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Gal Gadot in Heart of Stone.
How was that?
Terrible. Gal Gadot better hope I don't care how this sounds. Gal Gadot better hope that her looks hold up, because acting is not something she's good at.
Mm-hmm.
People say, well, she's not terrible. No, but she's not great. She looks great. She is a fucking 10 out of 10 as far as looks. Has a great voice, but can't act. I mean, it was an action movie that Netflix decided to do that, for whatever ungodly reason, they thought was a good idea. They said, yeah, that's perfect. We don't need to recut that. Let's have terrible green screen effects and go here.
Mm-hmm.
I think you watched Cobweb.
Cobweb I did not see.
Guy or a kid, had his parents that were acting a little bit weird, and then there was something that was in the basement or the wall.
I don't know. I must have honestly probably gone from the memory. I don't know.
maybe you talked about it, or maybe you talked about wanting to see it. I don't know. No, Cobweb is a horror movie that got released very limited in theaters, and then I finally rented it on Amazon. And well, I don't know how much thought they put into that, but more would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
No, terrible. Cobweb is not good. Older Gods had something to do with a brother trying to figure out what happened to his other brother, and I think it was set in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
That much I remember. Red, White, and Royal Blue was an Amazon original and had Nicholas something or other. Remember how Amazon released a Cinderella movie?
When was that?
That was 2022.
Okay.
Well, he was the prince in that, and he was also in this. He's also in another movie I'm going to talk about here in a bit. But Red, White, and Royal Blue was about the president's son and the the son of the Queen of England getting together. No, really, that was it.
That's ridiculous.
Actually, it was good. It was actually good.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't actually think it was going to work, but it did. We talked about Blue Beetle. Landscape with Invisible Hand had to do with a group of aliens called the VUV. That's the GIF I share where you might have seen, like, you know, some weird crab-like creature wiping its hands on a desk.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically a thing about classism and what would happen as far as, like, poor people getting poorer and having to survive and do things that they didn't want to do. And it was good. I didn't know anything about it before I watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I watched called Bad Things. It was like an homage to The Shining, if The Shining took a giant shit on The Shining. One of my favorite movies, Bottoms, a movie that I really, really praised a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Endless. Great comedy, had Rachel Sennett in it, Io Edebrey, who was in TMNT Mutant Mayhem. She's also in another movie a little bit later. That guy that was in Red, White, and Royal Blue was in it. Marshawn Lynch of the NFL was in it as a teacher.
Interesting.
Oh, he was great. It was one of the funniest movies I've seen. Actually, the funniest movie I've seen this year.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, August. What else did you see in August besides Blue Beetle?
Just those. I mean, I saw Haunted Mansion, the other ones that we already discussed, so nothing else beyond those.
Sure. Okay, let me run through the rest of these. Medusa Deluxe, it was one take type where they were showing the backstage thing or backstage aftermath of an art show it was an art show where somebody ended up getting killed and detectives are trying to figure out what happened. A24 did. It was fine. Heir of the Witch was about a girl that wanted to run away from her witch past. Resurrected was mostly found footage about people being brought back from the dead with horrific consequences. Not zombies, but mostly that they, when the soul leaves the body, what can you recapture? Actually, it was pretty good. It's on Tubi. The Devil's Left Hand. That was so micro-budgeted, I don't even think that they could afford to have the right hand be shown.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Book Club. Spanish, Italian, I think. A killer. And a movie called Killer Book Club is just weird. Yeah, that's about all I remember. Equalizer 3. Did you see any of the Denzel Washington Equalizer movies?
No, I haven't seen those.
First one was really good. Second one had a really stupid conclusion, was just more of the same. Third one had an incredibly attractive woman who kind of became the main lead.
Mm-hmm.
Had an impossible to pronounce name. She's Italian. Denzel was great in it. Dakota Fanning, being almost 30 years old, just is off-putting to me. I don't get it. It doesn't register with me. I still see her as a little girl that was in a whole bunch of other stuff, but it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't great. It was a fine send-off, I guess, but it was just more of the same. The first Equalizer was great, and then it just petered out. Perpetrator, Shudder original. Weird amalgamation of a bunch of genres. Alicia Silverstone was in it, continuing her deal of being in weird random horror movies. Dark Nature, A Hike in the Canadian Wilderness goes tits up. Here's one, The Nun 2. You haven't seen any of the Conjuring movies, as we talked about.
Yeah, I haven't seen The Nun either.
The The first Conjuring references the demon Valak that was actually the nun. Okay, and then you have the nun that had Taissa Farmiga in it, who was also in American Horror Story Season 1. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, the second nun wasn't necessary. It somehow was as bad as the other one. Actually, it was worse because they should have learned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the nun 2 wasn't good at all. Bloodflower. Taiwanese, I think. Had something to do with about a greenhouse, and there was a flower, and there was also something about incest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a recipe for me hating a movie. Staying in bars with... It's not the only horror. I saw some... What did I watch last year? Something Joshua in the title. What Josiah saw, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that involved incest. I'm just going to say right now, if you have a horror movie that involves incest, 9 times out of 10, I'm just going to immediately dismiss it because what the fuck? But anyway, Sitting in Bars with Cake was about 2 friends. One friend gets an illness. It was an Amazon original, very, very emotional. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
A Haunting in Venice, the continuing Murder on the Orient Express, Death on the Nile, and the Hercule Poirot deal. It had Kenneth Branagh returning. It had Tina Fey in it, Michelle Yeoh. I traveled 2 hours round trip to watch a sneak screening of it in a skyscraper theater. It's up 7 floors. So anyway, let me get to something else here. Good Boy. Guy has a dog, or actually somebody living as his dog in a dog costume, and he meets a girl, the guy that has the dog creature, dog human, and it was obvious from the beginning where it was going, and it was Norwegian, and god damn it, why am I seeing so many movies from Norway? It's also my most popular review of the year.
It must be.
Yeah, it was terrible. It was a terrible movie. Hated it. Birth/Rebirth. More revamping and resurrecting of horror movies. Or resurrecting in horror movies, rather. A mother loses her daughter. This woman that's a mortician wants to go all Frankenstein, resurrects, and it gets weird. It was actually good. The ones you didn't burn, I think it was Witches on a Farm, I think. Theater Camp had the aforementioned Io Edebri, or however you say her name. Theater Camp was pretty good. It was about a theater camp that, people were trying to do a play. Kids were trying to do a play. The theater was was threatened with being shut down. It was pretty good overall. I don't think it was quite as good as everybody said, but most of the dialogue was improvised, and it worked. Elevator Game was about playing this, going to various floors on an elevator, and it was based on a meme or based on a urban legend. If you do it in this order, then you end up in some kind of alternate dimension. God, man, I've watched so much stuff. The Retirement Plan had Nicolas Cage, Ron Perlman, and was not very good. I didn't know anything about it, went in knowing nothing, and came out wanting to know less. It had a good cast.
Yeah.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. Yes, folks, I actually watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3.
Terrible?
Yeah, it wasn't good. The first one was a hit. I worked at the theater when the first one came out. It was out in theaters for about 4 months and only left because it came out on DVD, and the rule is you can't have something out on DVD in first run or you can't have something out in theaters once it comes out on DVD.
Mm-hmm.
We were still packing the screenings. It was at least half full every single one. It was a phenomenon. And then the second one was not very good. And then I watched this one and ended up hating it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just painfully unnecessary. I mean, I don't fault it. They wanted to honor the dad, who was played by Michael Constantine, who passed away before this could get made. But it's squeezing the blood out of a turnip that was already dry by the end of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
One we talked about off air, Dumb Money, about the GameStop deal.
Yeah, I really liked him.
I thought Paul Dano, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's Dano, yeah.
He was great. The human shaved lemur, Pete Davidson, was great. Shayna whatever the hell her name is.
Yeah, she's the wife of Paul Dano in the movie.
Yeah, the one from Divergent, in case you're wondering, folks. The one that defended Aaron Rodgers. So that tells you where her head was at.
Yeah.
But had a great cast. Seth Rogen was great. It was great. It was a mystery movie. If you ever get a chance, guys, if you got a Regal or a Lowe's theater, and you get a chance to go see a mystery movie, and you don't know what it is, give it a shot, because this was actually the first one I saw that was a mystery movie, and it turned out to be very entertaining. Did you see anything in September that you can think of?
No, I actually didn't see anything in September, but I will say this, because my phone's actually about to die, which I did not realize until I just got a notification. But if you can't, well, I mean, I don't want to miss out on any of your big movies. So if you can go through September through December, I don't know how many big movies came out during those months, and then I'll throw in mine at the end as well. Give me some big ones that you saw, because I don't want to I don't want to miss anything from September through December before I let you go.
Slaughterhouse, Killer Sloth. It was all right. It Lives Inside. Great India based movie that was really, really tremendous. From Neon Studios. No One Will Save You, about aliens, and invasion. I'll say ones that were really terrible. Final Summer was a bad Friday the 13th ripoff. The Creator was an abomination. Till Death Do Us Part was about a bride having to fight the seven groomsmen. Nightmare was not great. Appendage was about a demonic appendage in somebody. My Animal, not great. Not great at all. Well, no, actually, My Animal was, because My Animal dealt with a lesbian relationship, a lot of stuff like that. The Exorcist Believer, terrible, horrible, awful. Royal Hotel, great. VHS 85 was a fine entry, but not great. Pet Sematary Bloodlines, not great. When Evil Lurks, my favorite horror movie of the year. Freelance with John Cena and Alison Brie was awful, wasn't it?
It was. I did not like that one.
Yeah. Deliver Us was a horror movie with a Catholic twist. Totally Killer was fine. It was an Amazon original.
I liked that one too. I liked it for what it was.
The Puppet Man was about a puppet person, I think. The Conference was a fine Norwegian. So much Norway love here.
A lot of Norway love.
Norwegian horror comedy. Ballerina was okay. Lockdown Tower was bad. French-Spanish movie. In My Mother's Skin was like if Pan's Labyrinth was stupid. Killers of the Flower Moon was too long. Lily Gladstone was tremendous. Mm-hmm. It's a Wonderful Knife was a great, pun intended film, Christmas horror comedy. Night of the Hunted wasn't very good. It was around a gas station. Five Nights at Freddy's I hated.
Wow, okay. Hated. Not even didn't like, just hated. Wow.
Hated. Zombie Town was not very good. It had Dan Aykroyd, Chevy Chase in it. It's on Hulu. Oracle was not good. Sister Death was also not very good. It was all right. Locked In had Famke Johnson in a coma. That movie should have been kept in a coma. Hurricane Season, I don't know what that one was about. The Persian version made me cry because it was a great mother-daughter dynamic. The Holdovers was incredible. Paul Giamatti deserves an Oscar.
Cool.
So does the main lead guy in his first film role. Priscilla showed that Elvis is always a groomer and a creep. Suitable Flesh had Heather Graham. It was fine. Infiesto was okay. It was a murder mystery. The Killer had... The Killer was a $175 million David Fincher Netflix movie. Was not very good. Deadly Invitation was okay. It was like if Glass Onion was made by a simple-minded person. The Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes, I didn't like.
Didn't like, okay.
No, not very good. Thanksgiving, what did you think of Thanksgiving?
Again, one of those movies where I was going into it expecting the dumbest thing, but it actually ended up being quite great to me. I actually really liked it. I assume you didn't like it?
Yeah. I liked it. I didn't think it. I thought the kills were fine. I didn't care about any of the characters at all.
I don't really care about the characters. Yeah, no, I understand that.
Not the biggest fan of Eli Roth. Who was the director? Wish. I hated Wish. I thought Wish was terrible.
I haven't seen that.
It's just bad. It was just really bad and lifeless. Dream Scenario. Nicolas Cage in A24 is about dreams that turn to nightmares. Saltburn. I loved. A lot of people didn't, but it had Barry Keoghan from Banshees of Inisherin. Good Burger 2. They actually made a sequel to that.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
Good Burger was fine, but it was also nostalgia for me because I was 16 when the movie came out. Good Burger 2 was terrible. Don't Look Away had to do with a mannequin that came to life.
Mm-hmm.
American Fiction was another mystery movie, and I loved it. Jeffrey Wright was incredible in it.
Mm-hmm.
Night of the Missing had Swerve Strickland in a brief cameo.
Oh, yeah, I know he was in a movie, yeah.
Yeah, it was another anthology movie that was terrible. Xmas, E-X-M-A-S. If Hallmark decided to basically make movies worse. Genie had Melissa McCarthy and was a bad story. Godzilla Minus One of the best monster movies I've ever goddamn seen.
Wow. It was an excellent movie.
Yeah, it was. Candy Cane Lane, Eddie Murphy once again shows that he will be in anything. May, December, about the Mary Kay Letourneau deal. Yeah. Julianne Moore was great. Silent Night was a John Woo movie that was not very good. Eileen had Thomas and Mackenzie and Anne Hathaway in it. That was great. Neon Studios. Boy and the Heron was a great anime movie. Not as great as Suzume, but still. Let's see. The Sacrifice Game. The guy that played Aladdin in the live-action Disney movie was in that.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the World Behind is one of the worst films that I've seen in years. Shaky Shivers was if you did a horror comedy but forgot to put either of those in it. There's Something in the Barn. It was trash. And then should have burned the barn down. Ironically, they did later. Wonka. Timothy Chalamet was fine. So was the girl. But it was an unnecessary origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Things. Emma Stone was tremendous. She deserves an Oscar nomination for that. Absolutely incredible movie.
Mm-hmm.
Dear David, found footage bullshit about a ghost possessing people through the internet. Chicken Run, Dawn of the Nugget. If you saw the first Chicken Run, you don't need to see this. The Cow Who Sang a Song into the Future did not actually involve a cow singing, but was fine as a reflection on past trauma. Natty Knox was a terrible Halloween knockoff. Santa Stein was about Santa's brain being put in the body of a person that died and horrific results happened.
Mm-hmm.
Black Mold, about black mold affecting people. The Last Exit was okay. Cassandro was about an Exotico, a lucha guy, and was very, very good. It's an Amazon original. Raging Grace, a daughter that basically is kind of hard to deal with, and a mother that realizes that the person employing her as a housekeeper is not great. The Iron Claw, I'm going to say really quickly, if you don't know anything about the story, you may like it. If you know anything about the story, you're going to hate it, because I pretty much hated everything they got wrong, and they got a lot of stuff wrong. Mm-hmm. You can check out my review to see what I got wrong.
There you go.
And Rebel Moon, Part 1, A Child of Fire. Hey, Zack Snyder, fuck you. How dare you call yourself a filmmaker? There you go.
Well, that was quite the way to close it out. No, listen, you did for every one of those movies, you did an in-depth review on your channel, right?
Yes, I did an in-depth review. Some of them I probably maybe could have gotten banned for some of the shit I said. We could go through our top 5 real quick if you want.
Yeah, no, of course. I don't want to skim out on that, but I'm just saying for anyone who wants to hear more of your thoughts, and any of those 276 movies is available on your channel, which we'll plug again at the end. But give me your top 5 worst, because before we get to the best, I know you saw a lot of shit this year. What was the worst of the worst for you?
Okay, 5 worst, and I did videos of these. Quasi, that was that terrible Broken Lizard, I think is the name of the company that did the Super Troopers deal.
Yep.
Quasi was terrible. Children of the Corn. Number 4, Leave the World Behind. It made The Happening seem good. The Exorcist Believer was my number 1, and Rebel Moon Part 1, A Child of Fire. If you want to see Star Wars done by a complete moron, watch that. And let me do my best, and then I'll let you do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Best. Number 5, Bottoms for best. Number 4, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Number 3, When Evil Lurks. Number 2, Godzilla Minus One, and number 1, Past Lives.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Past Lives didn't change. That was once I saw that was pretty. That and Godzilla Minus One were the only 2 that I could have picked.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For mine off the top here, I haven't made my definitive list, but just kind of going off of the list that I have here, Godzilla Minus One was excellent. I think my number 1, honestly, would be Guardians. I mean, I know you haven't seen it, but It was an
Sure.
amazing
No,
movie. I would
can
probably,
understand that.
yeah, that was a great one. Super Mario Bros. Would probably be 2 or 3, and the
Yeah.
Spider-Man movie was also amazing. Again, I'm a big comic book guy, not comic book, but like the superhero movies. I love that shit. So those are my
Sure.
top 3. The fourth one probably Barbie. I think Barbie was great. Oppenheimer's not in my top
Barbie, I
5.
think, was like number 10 on my favorites list.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No, it was a great movie. And then for 5 would probably be. I'm trying to think what else would really come off the top of my head as far as. I like Thanksgiving. I don't know what my 5 would be. I'd have to go back and look at my list again. Probably John
Sure.
Wick. Actually, John Wick was great. John Wick 4 was an
Right.
excellent movie. So probably that one. For worst, I mean, I think if I had seen even half of the ones that you would see, my list would probably be the same as far as some of the shit that came out this year.
You would have gone nuts like I have.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Babylon would be on my list, but that came out last year, even though I saw it this year, but I won't include that. Cocaine Bear, I won't say because I enjoyed that one. I'm trying to see what was actually really bad. Little Mermaid, I didn't love, but I think it was like terrible. I know you said you didn't like it, but I don't know. Meg 2 was just fucking awful. Freelance is definitely one of the worst ones. The Marvels was not good either. I think I have to just limit it to 5 because I'd have to really go back and see. Knock at the Cabin was disappointing, so I might among the ones that I saw, probably that one. And Shazam as well was very forgettable. So that would probably be my 5th one. I'd have to really refine my list. I know you have a definitive list though for each of the best and the worst, right? That people can check out.
Yes, yeah, I already did those. I posted those. I recorded them last week and then put them up Tuesday and Wednesday just because I was like, all right, I'm going to give some time. And then that way when we do this, by the time this comes out, they can check out everything and see all this stuff.
Perfect. Well, that's going to be coming out, or I say that. This is going to be coming out probably sometime this weekend before the close of 2023. So before then or after, obviously, this video, people could check out your full-on list of the best, worst movies of 2023, in your opinion, and then obviously every other movie review that you've done this year. And you've done a lot of them, but you said last year...
Yeah, I did horror lists also, folks.
Yeah, you do great lists. Yeah, no, there's a whole bunch of lists that you have that people can go back and check out, and obviously you've been on the channel a bunch of times, and we're going to do it again in the future. We'll reserve the spot for next year as well. Are you aiming for more or less than 276 for next year? I would assume less, but are you going for more?
I mean, I wrote down, this is what I wrote. I wrote 300 just to see. I'm probably going to review less wrestling, folks, so I might have more time for movies. But really, I'm going to have to dive into the dregs of stuff to see or just watch anything in theaters. If it's not 200, it's going to be between 200 and 276.
Okay.
But watch it be 300, and then watch us have to basically go for about 4 hours.
It's going to be as long. It's going to be twice as long as the Killers of the Flower Moon. That's how long the video is going to be.
Yeah. It'll be more interesting.
Oh, no, I'm sure it will be.
Moon's not.
I'm sure it will be. But listen, man, this is always a great time chatting with you. I apologize. I got to let you go. My phone's going to die like any second now. But I'm glad we were able to
It's all good.
sneak it all in here. And obviously, we'll talk more going forward. But before I let you go, I already said it earlier. But where can people find you on the Twitter machine and on YouTube?
I'm on Blue Sky, or rebornagain.bsky.social. I have Reborn Again on Twitter, Real Honesty with Jonn Ritland on YouTube. Make sure you check out a lot of Graham's stuff, and then you can check out my stuff.
I appreciate that. I would say go check out your stuff first. You got a lot of great movie stuff. You do way more movie stuff than I do, and you're always the opinion who's I. Whenever I see a movie, whether I like it or dislike it, even if it's the opposite, yours is the first opinion I kind of compare it to see whether you liked it or not. Especially if you say that you liked it, that will usually encourage me to go out of my way to see it, just to let you know.
I do hate a lot of shit. All right, Graham. It's been a great chat, though, like always.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you taking the time, and I look forward to doing this next year, too.
100%. Hopefully with more positivity on my end this time.
Well, I look forward to that. Maybe we can, and if not, it is what it is. 2024 will be an interesting year regardless, but have a happy new year, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Happy New Year, Graham.
See you,
Take care.
John. Take care, man.